kalendar. Why is it that people meet the New Year with firecrackers? Or in any way make some noise? Or puts as much food on the table for medianoche? Or have 12 or 13 round fruits? Ano bang yun na? Tingali, sa ato, marag nanalatas, sundog-sundog na lata. But actually, I think, the reason for that is because people are worried of what might come to them in the coming New Year. Mo na nga pagpaswerte, kay basig di malason, kuyaw kayo di malason. All people get anxious. Ang mga idara na mabalaka. Young people get anxious. God's workers get anxious. Everybody gets anxious. Puno tanan sa mga kabalaka. In the olden days, sa karang mga kapanahonan, some kings have found it very effective. Ang pipila ka mga hari nakakaplag na epektibo kaayo to keep their subjects in constant anxiety. Mas maayo ang ilang mga ginsakupan sa gingharian, pirming magkabalaka. Because if their people are anxious about their life and worry about where their next meal is coming from, kung naa sila kabalaka o kahadlo kung hayo na paigdikan ang ilang sunod nga pagkaon, then perhaps they will be more willing to do the king's command in order to get the food they need from the king's storehouse. Muna na ganahan ang hari nga pirming mabalaka ang iyang mga katawhan. Aron na kung pirmi silang mabalaka, mutuman sila sa iyang mga sugo, kaya aron masigurado nga matagaan silang pagkaon gikan sa storehouse sa hari. Anxiety and fear keep the king's rule firm. Mas ligon ang paghari sa iyang kingharian kung ang iyang katawhan pirming mabalaka. Kaya kung mabalaka, magsaligma niya o sa iyang mga supplies. But our King, Jesus, is different. Ang atong hari nga Jesus lahi, in that He does not want His people to be anxious. Dili gusto ang atong hari nga si Jesus nga ang iyang mga katawan magmabalakon. He does not secure His kingship by cultivating anxiety. On the contrary, He wants to free us from anxiety. Ang nakalain mao nga gusto siya na kita mahiling gawas sa atong mga kabalaka. God does not need to keep us anxious in order to establish His authority. Dili kinahanglang pabalakot niya pirmi aron mamintinar niya ang iyang pagkahari. Instead, He exalts His power and superiority by working to take away our anxiety. Gusto niyang mintinahon ang iyang paghari pinagi sa pagpamuhat sa iyang kagamhanan na mawagtan ang atong mga kabalaka. If you are born again, if you have turned away from sin and are following Jesus as Lord in obedience by faith, His will for you, ang iyang kabubuton para kanimo, is that you should not be anxious about anything. Ang iyang kabubuton mo nga ikaw dili magmabalakon sa bisan unsa, but that you enjoy deep serenity and peace and security. Nga imong masinati ang kalinaw, ang seguridad diha kaniya. And Jesus spoke these words in Matthew chapter 6 verse 25 to 34 precisely for you, to help you overcome whatever is making you anxious every day. Aron matabangan ka sa pagbuntog kung unsa man ang nakapabalaka kanimo matag adlaw. Basahan nato ang Matthew chapter 6, 25 to 34. Very common passage. Most of the times I like to preach on common passages so that you are already familiar and I don't have to labor so much on introducing the passage. Let's read it from the New International Version. I'm reading it from that. 25, Matthew 6. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more important than food, and the body more important than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the lilies of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed in one of these, like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Today's message should encourage and remind us that every disciple of Jesus should not be anxious about anything. Na ang mga tinunan ni Jesucristo kinahanglang dili magmabalaka mahitungod sa bisan unsang mga butang. Why should we be anxious for nothing? Nganong dili man ta magmabalaka sa bisan unsa? This morning we will look at from our passage 5 reasons why we should be anxious for nothing. Nga dili ta magkabalaka sa bisan unsang butang. The first is given in verse 25. Do not be anxious about your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor about your body, what you shall put. Why? Because life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. What does this mean? Unsa may buot ipasabot niini? Why do we tend to get anxious about food and clothing? Nganong kasagaran mabalaka mong gitang hitungod sa atong pagkaon ug sa atong isulod? Because there are 3 things that we would lose if we did not have food and clothing. Tulo ka mga butang nga mawala kanato kung wala tay pagkaon o wala tay ikasukbot. Number 1, we would lose some pleasures. Dili na to mapahimuslan ang kanindot. Food tastes good. It is pleasurable to eat. Ang pagkaon, lamian. Mindot kayong pagbati basta makakaunta. Maubitaw nga niining panahon sa Disyembre, daghang kaon. Ano di mo ta pulaan og kaon? Pulaan ta sige basag Biblia, pero ano di mo ta pulaan og sige kaon? Nga naman, kay lami man ang pagkaon. Unya kung wa tay pagkaon, di ta makatilaw sa kalami sa pagkaon. Mo nang mabalakag yung tao, wa tay kanon kay di ta katilaw sa kalami. Mabitaw ng uban magtanaw ra gani maglaway na. Magtanaw pa lang gani sa litson, nagkagumkum na ang mga ngipon. Kay lami kayo ang pagkaon. Secondly, we would lose some human admiration if we did not have nice clothes. Dili ta makabati o pagdaig sa mga tao kung matay nindot nga sinina o gisunog. Posible pang tamayon ta kung dili maayo ang atong gisunog. Mo nang mawad-an ta niya ng pagdayeg sa tao kung wala kay sinina. And thirdly, we would lose long life. Mamubo ang atong kinabuhi if we had no food at all, or we're not protected from the cold with warm clothes. Mawad ang tagtaas na kinabuhi. Mamubo ang atong kinabuhi kung way pagkaon or way sinina kay sa atong hunahuna kay itang masakit. So we get anxious about food and clothing because we don't want to lose physical pleasures or human admiration or long life. Tungkin mawani nato manang mapalakat ang watay kan ug watay isukbot. And to this Jesus responds, usay tubag ni Jesus, ingon siya, if you are grieved kung ikaw naputos ni ining mao anxiety over these things, ni ining mga butana, you have lost sight, nawalan ka sa pananaw of the greatness of life. Lalimtan nimo ang kanindot sa kinabuhi. Life was not given primarily for physical pleasures. Ang kinabuhi wala gihatag aron lamang sa pagpahimulos na physical, but for something greater, the enjoyment of God, ang pagkalipay kauban sa Ginoo. Life was not given primarily for the approval of man. Life was given for something greater, the approval of God. Life was not even given primarily for expansion on this earth. Wala ihatag ning kinabuhi aron mataas ni pagpuyo ni ining kalibutan, but for something greater. Unsa man ang something greater? Eternity with God in the age to come. If God is able to give you body and life, kung ang Diyos nakahimo sa paghatag kanimong lawas o kinabuhi, why don't you trust Him to provide for your food and clothing? Ngano di ka makasaling niya nga hatagan kaniya o pagkaon o sapot? Why are you so worried about food and clothing when in many cases they make life shorter? Ngano mabalaka mga kuway pagkaon o kuway sinina nga usahay mo mong ganihino ni makapamubo sa kinabuhi? You ask how? Unsa pagkamubo na ilang pagkaon? Na sinina? How many people were held up and killed just because they dressed up so well? Gihold up, kay nindun kayo panamit, daghan talinig dang kwarta. O gihold up, o gipatay pa ano ba? How many people have many sicknesses because of so much food? Pila man klaseng mga sakit na ang hinungdan kay nasubraan sa kaon o daghang pagkaon tungod sa imong gikaon. Kahiyak mamuta. Wala kinahanglan yun magpalit o bag-o kaya di na musigo. Nakaandam lang ta akong slacks this morning. Pagsuot na ako, Cebu pa man to last week. Pero hindi naman musigo. Usa lang kasimana. But my case is different. Kaya kung nga akong tiyan, daghan na tubig, mudakot yun siya. So nagdali-dali na lang kung maong nga mo as principle. Mauray komportable. So pasensya na mga igsoon. Mura man sa millennial hinulog magmaong ng mga kami. Pawid lang gihapon. Pero abot ka muna nga tawag, mapamanghuot ng inyong mga sinina. Kasi hindi ka
Iyak pa sa iyak.
Look at the crazy few on the streets. Tanaw mo ng mga buang, pipila kang mga buang na nasa karsada. They don't have much food and clothing if they ever have some. Tingali na sila mapunitan, kung sila tapon sa ilang lawas, but they still live sometimes longer than those with many food and good clothing. Usay ka ng mga buwang, tagas pag kinabuhin na itong daghang gikaon. Kung mga maayong sinina. Katong sa una sa Napakul Bible School, nakikita ko waway. Halos may kaon-kaon. Sige ra baktas-baktas gikas karkar katos Cebu City balik-balik. Gitawag siya baway kay sige magsiyagit. Wow! What? Ali-alihan ng mga sakyanan sa kalsada. Pero grabe galing ko nung lawas. Di basta-basta may magwala na ang hado. Kaya dako kay lawas. Kanang naa sa mga sira sa kulon. Karton rehigaan, pipila na ka mga parts sa clothing, hugaw pa. Kung magkakaon na, hugaw pa. Mas taas pag kinabuhin na to. Look at Jesus' example. In Matthew chapter 4, Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And He told us that man shall not live by bread alone or food alone, but by every word that comes out from the mouth of God. 40 days and 40 nights without food. Ikaw mamiss lang o snacks, magbagulbol na. Kung tanawan na sa resulta sa ibang lawas. Don't be anxious that you will miss a meal or two. You will even be more sick than when you worry than when you miss a meal. Mas masakit pa kasi mong pagkabalaka na wala kay kanon kaysa wala yun kay ikaw. Nga lang ka mo balaka. The second reason Jesus gives for not being anxious is in verse 26. Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? Because we're more valuable than birds and lilies. What we see when we look at the birds is not a lesson in laziness. Kung mutan-out ang mga langgang, mga tumakita, dili leksyon sa pagkatakulan. They dig their worms. Mangoy-koy yun na, mangita yun na sila sa ilang makaon ng mga worms. And snatch their bags and pad their nest with strings and leaves. Sila yun ay mga paghimo sa ilang salag, sa ilang balay-balay, sa ilang kapuyan, kugihan ng malanggang. But Jesus says it is God that feeds them. Bisag kugihan ng mga langgam, ang kasulatan ng iyon, ang Diyos mao'y nagpakaon nila. They go out their work as though when the sun comes up tomorrow, God will still be God. Inigsubang sa loob ma ang Diyos gihapon. But the biggest difference between a disciple of Jesus and a bird is that we have the capacity of honoring God by our faith. Ang langgam dili siya maka-honor sa Ginoo. Pwede kita makahimaya, makadayeg sa Diyos diya sa atong pagtuo. And God values the exercise of our faith more than He values birds. Mas bililhon ang atong pagtuo sa Diyos kaysa mga langgam. So we ought not be anxious, dili ta angayang magkabalaka, because the birds have taught us that God can be counted on to work for us tomorrow, not just as much as today. Ang Diyos, ugma, mao gihapon ang nag-work sa Diyos karon. Sama ra gihapon nga Diyos ugma. And look at verse 28 to 30. This time, an example from the lilies. Why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon, the king, the greatest king, Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed, wala gidayan-dayan like one of these. Kulang ang komparasyon ni Solomon sa iyang kadato, sa iyang mga dayan-dayan kaysa mga lilis na giyatiman sa Diyos. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will He not much more clothe you? Kung si Jesus, kung sa'yo problema, O you of little faith, kagamay sa imong pagtuo. When you look at the lilies, which has no will of its own to labor and spin, yet adorned with beautiful form and color, if you believe in God, you must draw at least this one conclusion. Maunta niya imong makatunan that God delights to adorn things. Ang Diyos ganahan yun ay siya magpadayon-dayan sa mga butang, mag-decorate sa mga butang. But if His delight finds expression in adorning grass, kung ganahan siya magpa-beautify sa mga sagbot that's here today and gone tomorrow, then surely labing siguro His delight in adornment will express itself in how He clothes His children. Ganahan ang Diyos, malipay siya ang Diyos nga ang iyang mga katawan nindot tanaw. Tanawa ko na yung tupad, nindot bang tanaw? Nindot na kayo mo smile, pero hindi na mo smile, nabalakag hapon na. Tingnan ang nagbalakaw na, oh you of little faith. Away naging puro kayo nagbalakayan. Smiling. The third reason not to be anxious is in verse 27. Ingon diha,